Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. Today we're going to continue along the vein of the Founding Fathers protecting everyone's unalienable rights. So many times, especially in our culture today, people think that the founders were not people of faith because the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law establishing religion. No, that was a statement of their faith. It wasn't a statement that they didn't want religion, didn't want faith. No, it was a recognition of self-government and that each person is accountable to God. And therefore, it's not my place. I can try to win you to what I believe, but it's not my place to force you to what I believe. That is wrong, and at that point, I would be violating your self-government. And so they were recognizing, as Romans 13:1, the A section, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. At that point, they understood that self-government was the basis of all authority. And therefore, and at the heart of that is obedience to God. That's why it was listed first. That is foundational to how a person functions. And so they acknowledged, is actually a better way to put it, that fundamental right of self-government to be directly accountable to God. Now with this, let's look at the Second Amendment, because this Second Amendment, again, there is so much that is said about this nowadays, and honestly, you should be concerned about what some elected officials are saying about this. You should really be concerned about what they are comfortable communicating. You know, the Second Amendment, I'll go ahead and read it. It says, a well-regulated militia. They start off the Second Amendment with talking about a well-regulated militia. It's not talking about squirrel hunting. It's not talking about rabbit hunting. It's talking about, if you would, the right of the people to defend themselves against whoever would be attacking them. And to do this, if you would, on a community-wide basis. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This had nothing to do with squirrel hunting. This had nothing to do with rabbit hunting. In all honesty, it had to do with the right of the people to potentially defend themselves against government infringement. You see, if you would, the founders believed that the British Empire, particularly King George, had violated their unalienable rights. They listed the grievances in the Declaration of Independence showing where King George had violated all of those rights. And as a result of that, they felt they had the right to throw off that government and to defend themselves from that government. The Second Amendment is not about squirrel hunting. And if you would, you know, our current president, Joe Biden, actually, in talking about some of this, said, what are you going to do? We got F-15s. You should be very uncomfortable with a president being comfortable talking like that. That's not good. And there's a whole segment of our society today that they are for the taking away of gun rights. Because ultimately, I tell you what, I won't have time to get into it today, but you join us tomorrow. There has been a time period in America where a particular group of people had their rights taken away from them entirely to defend themselves. We can look at history within our own country to see what happens. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Join us tomorrow for that. God bless you.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.